Well, as you guys know, I'm Nevada and the loan signing system ambassador. And I own a signing service here in the Las Vegas area, nationwide signing service. So today's training is just our perspective of how we schedule notaries and like tips and tricks for you guys to get on our preferred list in any signing services, preferred list, and kind of what we do on our side and how, what you guys can do to help us. And then, ultimately that helps you because then you become preferred. Goals today. So we're going to talk about the process from our side, and then, learn what signing services really look for in notaries and figure out how to become a preferred notary for any signing service that you work for. What is a signing service? So we're kind of the middleman between title and escrow and the notaries. We play that, like they send us an order and then we have to find the notary. So we kind of like play the middleman. So that means that we represent the title company, and our job is to make them look as good as possible, right? So that weighs heavily on the notaries that we hire as to how good we look, right? We want the notary to do a good job. So same for you guys. You guys represent us and the title company when you accept that job. So your job also as the notary is to try to make everybody look as good as possible. So, kind of what does that mean? So that just means that you want to make sure that your appearance is professional. Always make sure you're dressed professionally when you're going into a signing. Make sure that, attitude and your manner, like your attitude and all of that is positive, and like a smile goes a long way. Positive attitude. And then, like, it is interesting when you're in a signing, if you can keep yourself, like, because sometimes emotions can get high at a signing table because people are stressed out, they're excited, sometimes numbers aren't exactly what they thought, and so they're getting upset. So as the notary, if you can kind of keep everybody calm, cool, and collected, if you feel them, getting upset and getting frustrated, if you can do your best to try to bring those emotions down and just reassure people that it's going to be okay. If there's questions, we'll get your questions answered. Don't worry. So just being that, calm energy in the room is super helpful. That's what every escrow officer wants, is somebody that can come in and not necessarily take control of the room, but kind of, you want to be like their guiding light through the signing. And so if you can help them stay calm, cool, and collected throughout the signing, that helps out the escrow officer too, because then their signers aren't, flying off the wall upset about things, and you can get their questions answered and all of that. And then if there's oftentimes an agent in the room or a loan officer in the room, let them help you. If your signer has questions and they can answer those questions, by all means, let them help you answer questions. I often would sometimes take like a back seat because the agent wants to do that. And so that's fine. As long as you can get your job done and, the signers are comfortable with it. If the agent or the loan officer wanted to take over or explain things, I usually let them, because why not? That's who the signer is the most comfortable with. And, they know them better anyway. And so I would always just let them help whenever, they wanted to or could. So just a few things there. And then, so as the signing service, we're managing, the notary assignments, quality control, deadlines, and compliance. So those are all kind of things that we're going to go over and talk about behind the scenes. So like kind of our process, it's similar as a notary, the process. The title company reaches out. They tell us that we have a signing at this place at this time. And so then the difference between, you being a mobile notary and us being a signing service is that you look at your schedule, right? And say, do I have any openings? We just put it right into our system. And then we kind of start our notary search from there. We actually do a confirmation call we always try to confirm with the signers before we start looking for a notary as well. but we get it into the system, we do a confirmation call, and then we start looking for a notary. And when we're looking for a notary, it's typically based mostly off of like proximity, so the notaries that are the closest, but also experience and your profile. Your profile is huge. You want to make sure that your profile is up to date. You have a good profile picture that is like a professional picture. Put all of your, all of your things on there, whatever it is that you're, like if you're NNA certified, if you're LSS certified, even like Notary Stars or any of those, any of the training programs, just showing us that you've put in the work to get some sort of like loan signing training makes a big difference to us, because then we know that you're actually like trained in loan signings, because there's a lot of notaries, but there's a difference between a notary and a loan signing agent, and actually knowing the loan docs and all of that. So that's really big for us. And then past performance. If you can get in and do one signing with a signing service and you did a good job, they're more likely to come back and use you again. So all of our notaries, like I tend to like mark the notaries. We have an approved list and we have a preferred list. And so the approved list is people that we've used a few times, but we're not, they're not preferred yet, but they're approved. So we have two different lists. So you're more likely to get hired from us if you've even done just one job and have done a good job than, somebody that we've never used. So once you can get your foot in the door with signing services, typically you're more likely to get another, as long as, you did a good job. And then once we assign the notary confirms, and then we just kind of monitor until completion from that point. So like I said, we do a confirmation call with all of our signers before we even schedule. But you as the notary, when you get a notification saying that, there's a signing available, before you say you're available, just double check that the time frame is actually going to fit into your schedule. I've had notaries that just like say yes to everything, and then they're like, oh wait, sorry, I can't actually do that time. I'm like, well, why did you say yes? So double check your schedule, make sure it actually fits in your schedule before you accept it. And then keep in mind your overnight pickup times. So make sure that you know what your local like FedEx overnight pickup times are, UPS overnight pickup times are, because it is super helpful for us. We don't always know those, like I do know them somewhat for here in this area. But if you're accepting a signing from somebody who's out of state, they're not going to know what our FedEx pickup times are. So when they call you to talk to you about the order and it's a 4 o'clock signing or 3 o'clock, it's fabulous if you can be like, yeah, I can take this order, but just so you know, docs probably won't make overnight shipping because it's too close to like the cutoff time. We don't have a later cutoff time. So that is super helpful for us, because then we can relay that back to title and just be like, FYI, they don't have pickup times, that late. So docs aren't going to make overnight shipping. So that is super helpful as a signing service for the notary to let us know, like as you're accepting the order, whether you think it's going to make overnight pickup or not. And then always try to confirm within a couple of hours of receiving the signing. We know that you're busy and you might be like in a signing and you say yes. And so you can't call the signers right away, but you should be able to call within a couple of hours of receiving the order. So just always try to, that's also helpful, because if we don't get that confirmation, we don't know that you've actually called them. So if we don't hear back from you, we will typically send out a message just being like, hey, have you actually been able to connect with the signer? And most of the time they're like, yes, I'm so sorry, I just didn't do the confirmation report. But just as soon as you get that, as soon as you confirm, try to do the confirmation report so the signing service knows that you've confirmed with the signer. Secondly, if you have reached out, like if you've called and you've texted and you haven't heard back, let us know. Do that confirmation report and just let us know that you left a message or you couldn't get a hold of them or whatever. Because if you've tried to get a hold of them and you couldn't, and we tried and we couldn't, we want to reach out to title and find out if there's another contact number, or, did they send us the wrong number or something like that. So if there's a problem with the If there's a problem with the number, we want to know that so that we can reach out to title and try to figure out, why can't we get a hold of these people? And so yeah, just let us know if you've reached out and you can't get a hold of them. Yeah, because communication, I mean, right across the board, communication is huge. I mean, every signing service will tell you somebody that over communicates is way better than somebody that under communicates. So document checklist. So once you've accepted the signing and you get the docs, we have our own document checklist. So when we get the docs, we automatically open up the documents, and we're looking to see that first thing is that the names are spelled correctly, and then that secondly that it's going to match the ID that the signer is going to have with them, right? So when we call our signers, that's a part of our process as well, is I make sure that when I see the docs that their name, I read off from the documents, their name spelled back to them and say, is that what is on your ID? Because it is shocking how many people don't have the ID that matches their, like what they claim is their legal name. And so as a notary, their ID has to match what they're signing, right? So I always look at the documents to confirm that. And secondly, if we don't have documents yet, what I will do is I say, well, this is how we have it in the order. What is it on your ID? And if they do have like a middle name or anything on their ID, but we didn't have that in the order, I will add it just so that I then know when we get the documents, I can double check and confirm that I have here what's on their ID, and I can make sure that whatever's on the documents is going to match. Like there's not an extra name or, something that's on the documents that's not on their ID. And then secondly, we always look at making sure that if they're signing out of a trust, estate, or a business, we make sure to put that in the order, because you guys as the notary need to know if they have to sign, how they have to sign. So just in general, if you guys ever get a signing and you see that documents have some sort of verbiage on it, always ask how they're supposed to sign. Never assume that it's okay to sign with or okay to sign without. Always just ask. We typically try to put it in the order, like have them sign all docs with manager, or only the grant bargain sale deed needs to be signed with manager. Seller documents are usually a little bit more flexible on how they sign. It kind of depends on the escrow officer. Loan docs are tricky because it's up to the lender how they want documents signed. And so we, even as the signing service, always have to ask the title company when we get loan documents with any sort of verbiage on it. We always have to ask how they're supposed to sign those documents, because sometimes they say without, like just have their name only. Sometimes they only want certain documents signed with the verbiage. So just always ask is like honestly the best mindset to be in, is if you see any sort of verbiage on there outside of just their name, ask whoever gave you the signing, how do you want them to sign the documents? And so then if it's a seller package, always double check that there is a deed of some sort in the package. The deed is what is actually transferring the property from the old owners to the new owners. So sometimes it's a warranty deed. Sometimes it's a grant bargain sale deed. So there's different types of deeds, but make sure there's always some sort of deed in the package. Because you're going to look like the hero if you reach out and are like, hey, I didn't see a deed in the package. Just wanted to confirm that was okay. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let me get that out to you. Yes, it was supposed to be in there. So if you have your own system of being able to go through and check documents and just confirm with title, I always ask, I never say, I always, I just wanted to make sure that this was correct. And so same thing with loan documents. With loan documents, you're always going to have the title company's documents, which are like the escrow documents, and then you're going to have the loan documents. So escrow documents, you'll always see the title company's name and information at the top. Like it'll say, like whatever ABC title at the top of all of their documents. And then once you don't see that ABC title anymore, you know you're into the loan documents. So always make sure there's escrow documents and loan documents if you know it's a loan package. And again, same thing, like sometimes you'll get only loan documents and, you know, just reach out to whoever gave you the signing and say, hey, I just noticed that there's only loan docs. We don't have any like escrow or title docs. Is that, you know, is that okay? And they'll either be like, yeah, they're e-signing all the escrow documents, or, oh my gosh, just let me get those to you really quick. And then again, you look great because you've caught a mistake that they, you know, made, and they're grateful for that. And then second thing, because there's two sets of docs, the title company creates their escrow and their title docs, right? Like those come from them. And then the loan docs come from the lender. So it's two separate, you know, two separate companies basically that have to come together and sign the same set of documents. So make sure that their names are the same from the escrow documents to the loan documents. So like if it's John Smith on the escrow documents, and then John, you know, Ralph Smith on the loan documents, I would reach out to the title company again and say, hey, he's got his middle name on the loan documents, but it's not on the escrow documents. Is that okay? Like, you know, is that okay? And then how do you want him to sign, you know, on both of them? Because if their name's different, you know, you got to find out how they're supposed to sign. And sometimes the title companies are like, no, it's fine. Our documents are, you know, just have him sign however on our documents and have him sign with his full name on the loan documents. So typically title companies are a little bit more relaxed, and the loan documents are the important ones that are picky. In loan docs, the second thing you want to look at is to make sure that the note, so like go straight, I make sure that there's escrow documents, there's loan documents. I check the names as I'm scrolling through the documents. As soon as I get to the loan documents, I go straight to the note and I look at the date. Signers cannot sign the note before the note is dated. So if the note is dated for the 27th, but they're scheduled to sign on the 26th, they cannot sign. Like 99% of the time, they cannot sign ahead of the note date. They can sign after. So if it's dated for the 27th and they're signing on the 28th, that's fine. They cannot sign before. So as a notary, again, if you get documents and you get a loan, check that note date to make sure that they're not signing before the note is dated. Otherwise, majority of the time, they're going to have to re-sign all those documents. So those are just some pointers. And so those are the things that we look at when we get the documents. I don't know how all signing services do it. So if you're getting work from other signing services, I would have these same checks. And if you're working directly with title companies, for sure have these same checks, because you kind of want to be their like second check. You know what I mean? Like we should know how, you know, how the documents are, you know, put together, and then we can kind of be their second check. And they appreciate that 100%. Every time I, you know, found something and was kind of questioning, and it was something that they missed, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is why we love you, because you know, double check our work. So they do appreciate it. They're never offended. And even if they're like, no, it's fine, they still don't care, because they would rather you ask and have it be okay than not ask and have it be not okay. You know what I mean? So being that double check for us and other signing services and the title companies is going to bring you back to them every time, because they like that double check. When you're doing the confirmation call, that's when we do like our name check, like to make sure that their names match their IDs. We also get a gate code. So like to ask if there's a gate code. So I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys before, but you get to a signing and you're like, oh, there's a gate code. And you then have to call the signer while you're waiting in line at the gate to get their gate code. So it's just always in our routine now to just ask if there's any gate codes. It's super common here in Vegas. It's not as common in other parts of the country. But here it's super. So like for you guys, I would say when you do that confirmation call, get it in your, you know, list of questions. Is there a gate code that I will need to get in? Or, you know, do you need my name for the gate guy so he can be ready for me when I get there? That kind of thing. And yeah. And so all of these are just to make sure that when you get to the table, you're ready to sign, right? Like it's worse to get to the table and then realize that their names are spelled wrong, because then you've driven there, you've printed the package. So all of this is just trying to make that signing go as smooth as possible once you're at the table. So when you're at the table, please, please, please reach out to whoever gave you the signing if there's any questions at the table. It's the worst when I get a phone call and the notary's already left and they say they weren't happy with the numbers and refused to sign. I'm like, well, now you've already left and we can't even have a conversation about it. So if I would rather receive a phone call or a text message and like work through the problem at the table. And sometimes they still won't sign, and that's fine. But sometimes we can get a hold of title and we can get a hold of people who can help them like walk through it and figure it out and be like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and sign. 95% of the time, it's a numbers problem. They're not happy with the numbers that are on the settlement statement. And they don't realize that that settlement statement is still just an estimate. So those numbers can change. Let's just get somebody on the phone and confirm that we can adjust these numbers for you. None of the other documents are going to change. So we can sign the rest of these documents. We're going to confirm that these numbers can change. And you don't even have to sign the settlement statement if you're not happy with those numbers. That can be docu-signed later. And so sometimes it's literally just as easy as that for the signers to be comfortable and be okay signing. So if there's ever any, like if they're ever wanting to refuse to sign or there's questions or anything, don't ever hesitate to give a call, to whether it's the signing service. If you receive the order from the signing service, always call us first. But if it was a direct signing, don't hesitate to give the escrow officer a call. They want that file to close. So they would rather talk to them at the table than have you end up back in their office and having to go back the next day or later. And then it's, they didn't close on time and all of that. So never hesitate to reach out and ask questions. The completion report. We really appreciate it as a signing service if you do the completion report as soon as you're done. I think some notaries feel like they need to wait until they're been given the okay to ship to do the completion report. But no, go ahead and do the completion report, put the FedEx number in there or UPS number in there, do it right away. So then we know that you've completed the signing. Because if it's, it's been 2 hours since you were supposed to be there and we haven't heard anything, we're reaching out and being like, hey, did the signing go okay? And they're like, oh yeah, we completed. I'm just waiting to do the completion report until I can get the scans in. I'm like, no, please do the completion report. Because for one, it lets us know. For two, the title company typically will get, for us, they get the completion report. And I think most signing services, the title company gets that completion report as well. And so that makes, then they know too that the signing went okay and it's done. And they're not reaching out to us being like, hey, what happened? Did that signing get done? They already know. They received the completion report. They know that docs were signed. Secondly, please leave a nice comment in the completion report. If you guys if the signers were super nice or you chatted about, their vacation, again, the title company gets those and they've been working with these signers for the last, month or more. They actually enjoy reading those nice comments. And for us as the signing service, then we know that, you had a friendly, good interaction with the signers. And then that makes us feel good about you because we know that you had, that you guys connected with the signers and it was a good experience for them, right? Ultimately, that's what we're looking for at a signing, is for it to be a good experience for the signers. And so if you guys had some, nice conversations or chit-chatted about something, feel free to leave that in the comments. We like to see that and title likes to see that. So just, feel free to share in those comments. And secondly, if you're not going to be able to get scans, because we always say we want scans, within 2 hours of the signing. If you can't do that, that's typically fine. You just need to let us know. So same thing, if it's been 3 hours and we haven't gotten scans, we have to reach out to you and say, hey, what's your ETA on getting scans up? So instead, if you, when, you know, and you can do that in the completion report, you can just send us a note, whatever, but just communication. So just let us know, you know, what your ETA is for being able to get those scans in. The only time it's a little bit stressful is, you know, if we're on like a shipping cutoff time or something like that. But yeah, just let us know your time frame is all. And then always put the tracking number in. Like I said, even if you know you're not shipping right now, like you haven't actually dropped them for shipping, still put that tracking number in, because on our side, when you put that tracking number in, it inputs it into our system. And so all we have to do is like click the button to open a new tab to show us if it's shipping, like to show us the tracking. If you don't put that in, we have to open up the shipping label, write down the tracking number, and then put it into FedEx. So it's just a lot more steps for us to check the tracking. So if you just always put that tracking number in there right from the start. You don't have to wait to actually drop it to put the shipping number, like the tracking number in. So it's helpful for us if you do that. And then if you didn't get a shipping label, sometimes that happens. We always, you know, we try to catch that, but sometimes if you don't get a shipping label, when you've already done the completion report, just go back and redo it and put the tracking number in for us, because that's also, again, super helpful. Same thing, because then that way we can just click on it instead of having to, you know, download it, get the number, and then put it into tracking. And then scans, you know, we want scans in just as soon as possible. But same thing, like if you can't get them in right away, just let us know and let us know, hey, I'm headed home. I'll get scans in 45 minutes or an hour or whatever. So just communicate with us. Let us know what your plan is. Notaries that have a mobile scanner are going to get more signings from us than those that don't. Because if you have a mobile scanner, you can sign the documents. I mean, I don't know how many times I ask the signers, hey, is it okay if I just stay in your driveway for just another minute, or right outside your house for just another minute? I'm just going to scan these in real quick. And it takes 5-10 minutes. You scan them in, you upload them, and you're on your way. So we love that, because then we get those docs right away, and you're still close to the signer. If there's a mistake, you're not already back home and half an hour away, have to go back. If you're right there, we typically, you know, check our scans within 10 to 15 minutes. And so then you can just get that correction super fast instead of having to drive all the way back. So mobile scanners as the signing service are huge. Mobile printers are amazing. I know that's a little bit harder, but if you can at least have the mobile scanner. And I don't know if you guys know, but you can like literally buy a, you know, like what are those called? Like it used to be like, what was the cigarette lighter? They make adapters that you can just plug right into that cigarette lighter that has an outlet on it. And that's all. I have a Epson ES500. And so it's like it's my regular scanner, but I just would throw that in my car and I just plug that little adapter into the cigarette lighter, and it works great. And I just turn my hotspot on my phone. So it's really pretty simple to be able to, you know, use a mobile scanner from your car. But just a tip, you know, and put any of those things too are also good to put in your profile. Make sure you put down that you have a mobile scanner. If you have a mobile printer, put that down there too. Those are all things that we look for in, you know, a profile. Scan backs required. Almost always we request scan backs, and it's most of the time it's because the title companies now want those scan backs. They're trying to close, you know, like right now. And so if they know that docs are at least tracking for shipping, they will use those scans for closing, because they have to scan them to the lender anyways. So most of the time, title companies want those, so we need those. And we like them because we get to double check and make sure that everything looks good, you know, so that you look good, so that we look good. That's, you know, what those are for as well. That being said, make sure that your scans are like good, clean scans every time. If it's like a single document, you know, I get notaries that want to use like the mobile like cam scanners. Just figure out how to get your scanner in your car, honestly, like your regular scanner, or buy a second scanner. Like I have like a bag. I just would, anytime I knew I was going to have to do scan backs, I would just fold up my scanner, put it in my bag, take it in the car with me. It just was so much easier. And then I know I have good, clean scans every time, so that we can use those, you know, the title company can use them however they need, if they do need them. Um, and the other thing too is try to keep your scans down to like 1 or 2 files. I know sometimes on the loan packages, loan packages can be really big. But you should be able to adjust your scanner settings so that you can keep that down to 1 to 2 files. When we get scans back that are like, they've uploaded 6 or 7 files, it's frustrating, and it's, we have to download them all and then go through them all. And then if title needs those, we're sending 7 files. Like, it's just, so adjust your scanner settings so that you only have to send 1 or 2 files. And then always, so for starters, always double check your scans. As soon as you've got your scan in there, open it up and just kind of scroll through it and make sure that your legal size documents are not cut off, for starters. And make sure that it is a good clean scan, that nothing's cut off. And secondly, if you can, because what we do as soon as we get scans, once we've checked them and we've made sure everything looks good, we do a page count, because there's been times where something didn't print or it just got stuck in the scanner. But if there's docs missing from what we sent you to what you're sending back, we have to figure out what's missing. So even if your package just has like a blank page in it, even like the FedEx, I mean, the shipping label is not a big deal. We typically will know, like the shipping label is typically at the top. So if you're short 1 page, we're like, oh, it's the shipping label. But if it's short 4 or 5 pages, we have to go through page by page to figure out what's missing, because that's a part of our job, is to make sure that the signing is completed properly, right? So if there's documents missing, we have to make sure that what's missing. So just open up the original set that you printed, see how many pages it is, open up your scans, see how many pages it is. If you're short a page, if you can figure out what's missing for us, and then either rescan or let us know, like, hey, there was a blank page, I didn't scan that, or just scan it. And then when we're checking it and the numbers match, it doesn't matter. So that's huge for us, because if you can just make sure that the same number we sent is the same number you're sending back, that helps a ton for us. And then always get their IDs and always upload, unless it like specifically says not to. It's typically somewhere in the instructions that we've asked for an ID. I've had notaries argue with me before. It didn't say anywhere that you needed IDs. Well, it's in our client standard instructions, and it was in the separate instructions that I sent you for the seller package. So it was in there twice. So even if you don't feel like you saw it, just upload IDs, no matter what. They typically are needed. Like I said, unless you specifically says no ID needed, I would just get in the habit of getting the ID and uploading it. And same for title. When you're doing, like if you're working direct, I always just would like email them, the IDs, just pictures of the IDs, or, if you're have a phone number of the escrow officer, you can text it to them or whatever, but just make sure you always get whoever sent you the order, you get them the IDs as well. Okay, so before scans are approved, if there's corrections that are needed, ideally they're just corrections that you can make as the notary, like if it was something in the notary block or something like that. If corrections are needed, try to get those done as quickly as possible, and then confirm if they actually need those corrections re-uploaded again. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. If we know that title needs those scans, we're going to need those corrections uploaded. If it's just a couple of pages, we will often say, if you can just upload those couple of pages that were corrected, that's okay. But trying to get those corrections done as soon as possible is a huge help as well. If you're, so that's just gets you on our list as well. If there is a correction, but you can get it done quickly and get us the scans quickly, we'll use you again, that kind of thing. If you're arguing with us and I had a notary yesterday who was arguing that she didn't need to print the signers' names in her notary section. I'm like, it's not even a complete sentence. Whether your state needs it or not, it ends it by. We need the signers' names written in. And so if you just, get the corrections done and don't make a big deal out of it, we love that. But once scans are approved, you do have to wait for approval, at least from us. We have written on our thing, you have to wait for approval to drop. So once you get approval, then you can go ahead and drop them. Make sure you're dropping, if you can, well before the cutoff time. And another tip, if you can give us a heads up as to when you're going to be dropping those documents, like as soon as you get the approval to drop and you let us know, I'll be headed to FedEx in an hour. That's super helpful for us because we do track that. Like we have to, we're trying to make sure that docs are tracking for the title company and that they're going to make it back when they're expected. So if you can let us know when you're planning on dropping, that is helpful because then at least we know that, we know the schedule. And then uploading the receipt is super helpful as well. So once you upload the receipt, we're like, sweet, then checking for tracking, we can check for tracking at any point to make sure that it's tracking. But if that receipt's in there, or if you've uploaded that receipt, like that's kind of an insurance policy for you, because then if docs aren't tracking or whatever, you have uploaded the receipt and had said, nope, I dropped it. I know I'm good, but if you can't find that receipt or you didn't drop it and you don't have the receipt, that's happened before where I had a notary, she had a whole stack of packages. Our package slipped under her seat. She was like, I went to FedEx. I know I dropped it. And she gets back in her car and realizes that her package wasn't in the thing. So if you can just upload that receipt, then that's your insurance policy, to let us know that you dropped the package and you've done your job, and then don't hesitate to ask for a review from us or to get on our approved list. If it's your first signing with us, to be honest, I'm probably not apt to leave you a review yet. I want to make sure, like I don't leave reviews for notaries until they've done a few good signings for me, unless they were terrible. Even when they're terrible, I don't always leave a bad review. We can make notes on your guys' profiles that only we see. And so that's what I really like, is that I will make notes on notaries' profiles and say, they did a seller signing, they did a super great job, really communicative, or the other way around, did a seller signing, couldn't get a hold of them to get the completion report done, then couldn't get a hold of them to get the scans uploaded, So I use our notes a lot more than I use the reviews. But don't be afraid to ask for that, especially if you've done a few signings for that signing service before, and just be like, hey, I really like working with you guys. Would you mind leaving me a review or adding me to your approved list? And if you've done a few signings for them already, you're probably already on the approved list. But ask for the review. It doesn't hurt to ask. They're probably not going to say no. They're going to say, okay, and then either do it that time or the next time, so it doesn't hurt to ask. And then lastly, make sure you have all of your current W-9 information uploaded to whatever platform you're receiving the signing from. I have a lot of notaries. We're on a new platform, Notary Every Day. And because it's a new platform, there's a lot of notaries on there that don't have a full profile. So we are struggling with this really bad right now. All of our good, great notaries have all of their stuff up there. But just in general, make sure you have a current W-9. So it's from this year, and the next year, upload another new one, because we technically do need a current W-9. We're technically not even supposed to send payment until we have a current W-9 from you. And some signing services are sticklers about it. They will not send you payment. And, you call and say, hey, I haven't received payment for this order. And they go in and look, they're like, well, you don't have a current W-9 uploaded. So you do have to, so just make sure that, you have all of your current information uploaded there. Anybody have any questions?
I just had a quick question.
Yes.
I have a mobile scanner, but I was wondering if anybody has one that they really like and would recommend.
Like I said, my scanner, I have this Epson ES 500. So it's a big scanner, but it folds up and I just put it right into a bag. I have a little baggie for it. I put it right into the bag and I put that in my car. And I have a little adapter that goes into like the cigarette lighter part and
Mhm.
it has a plug-in on the end of it. And so I just plug that right into there and I turn my Wi-Fi on my phone and I use that in my car.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I have the same one like that works well. Upgraded to I think it's the 580. And the only difference, it works exactly the same. The only difference is it has the screen on it. So like when you're connecting like to
Oh,
Wi-Fi and everything, it's a little bit more, you're not looking at like this blinking light or this blinking light. It actually has a screen
okay.
on it with like words and a little bit more, connector friendly.
Yes, you mentioned asking for reviews. Is there like reviews on our profile, or what do you refer to when you're
Yes.
talking about that?
I mean, either way, whatever you think you want to review on. I've had notaries ask me to leave reviews on like their Google business page.
Okay.
Or on you do so like on your profile on all the platforms. We can leave reviews on our side so that we see that. You guys can't see that as notaries, but the other signing services can see what types of reviews the other signing services have left. And when you see a notary that has, multiple good reviews, we're more likely to use them. So either way, whatever you either ask for a review on the platform or on your Google business page or whatever it is that you want a review left on.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Oh, I do have a quick question.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, two questions really quick. The
Mhm.
mobile scanner and printer, is that an all-in-one?
No, mine's
No.
not. No, I
Okay.
had no. My
Okay.
scanner and my printer are separate. Even in my office, my scanner and printer are separate.
Okay. Okay. Another question, and I know this, I probably know the answer to it because I did actually reach out to somebody a while ago, but I've had my certificate for almost a year now, and um I haven't done any signings because I've just been pursuing other things, but um, I had asked somebody to shadow on a signing, and I don't know if that's a confidentiality problem, or if that's an option or possibility.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Your best bet for that is to go in when they need a witness. Um,
Okay,
because yeah, it's because there's so much personal information, people don't often want
right. Somebody hanging over their
multiple.
shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that
So,
makes sense.
but if there's a witness needed, like
Hmm.
if they're, I mean, all properties in Florida, when they have to sign the deed, those have to have a witness. So there are, loan documents that do need witnesses. So it just depends on the state that the documents are coming from. Lots of like trust documents need witnesses. So I would just try to hop on, like when you see, because there's lots of people that post in our Nevada group um, that need a witness. So if that's a good way to get in and kind of shadow is to just offer to be a witness.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Or just try to meet up with someone and do like a sample set. Some of the
Hmm.
sites or, LSS and stuff have like redacted docs that you can, work one-on-one with, others of us, LSS, some of the mentors, or just some of the groups in general kind of get together as like friends, go have coffee, and then we'll just go through like a set of docs that are redacted and kind of like one-on-one. This time you be the buyer and then I'll be the buyer,
Oh,
and
okay.
kind of play buyer seller or buyer notary.
Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And don't ever hesitate to reach out if you guys have any questions or anything.